Malchut Beth David, the Davidic dynasty, and the sovereign existence of the Jewish people. They prayed for the Mikdash, for the temple. So they knew that something was missing. Judaism had not fulfilled its aims and its purposes on this earth as defined by Judaism itself, and as these people knew, they were praying.
Okay, last thing we were learning last night was about tattoos,
and they were willing to
and the negative commandment about it. We're discussing the permanent makeups. Basically, could be a very big shaila of tattoo. And then you have a shaila about removing a tattoo if the way to remove a tattoo is by tattooing over it. So then you're actually tattooing another tattoo. So, but again, if somebody has a tattoo, halachically, there's no obligation to remove it. Okay, there's things that are not practical today. For instance, the same sukkim, it speaks about they used to, when God forbid if somebody died, they would rip out hair from their bodies, and all that would be forbidden. Okay, next is like this. The Torah says, next siman is...
Everybody, of course.
No, I mean, it's not so simple. Because again, you're just tattooing. You're tattooing another tattoo over that tattoo, so that you're really tattooing. Huh?
That the Christians replace the Jewish people as the...
They don't necessarily remove it that way. Usually they remove it, this is what I was told. Usually they remove it by tattooing the skin color tattoo over that tattoo.
The Jewish people.
So basically, that's what you have. If there's another way of removing it, that you don't have to tattoo, let's say you cut the skin somehow, so then yeah, you'd be allowed to do it. It's not an issue. But halachically, you don't have an obligation to do it. Okay, next thing is, the Torah says,
essential notions.
Negative commandment about it.
Particularly
okay, last thing we were learning last night was about tattoos and the negative commandment about it. We're discussing the permanent makeups. Basically, could be a very big shaila of tattoo. And then you have a shaila about removing a tattoo if the way to remove a tattoo is by tattooing over it. So then you're actually tattooing another tattoo. So, but again, if somebody has a tattoo, halachically, there's no obligation to remove it. Okay, there's things that are not practical today. For instance, in the same sukkim, it speaks about they used to, when God forbid if somebody died, they would rip out hair from their bodies, and all that would be forbidden. Okay, next is like this. The Torah says, next siman is... No, I mean, it's not so simple. Because again, you're just tattooing. You're tattooing another tattoo over that tattoo, so that you're really tattooing. Huh?
They remove the skin.
They don't necessarily remove it that way. Usually they remove it, this is what I was told. Usually they remove it by tattooing the skin color tattoo over that tattoo. So basically that's what you have. If there's another way of removing it, that you don't have to tattoo, let's say you cut the skin somehow, so then yeah, you'd be allowed to do it. It's not an issue. But halachically, you don't have an obligation to do it. Okay, next thing is, the Torah says you're not allowed to shave the side of your sideburns, and you're not allowed to cut your beard. The cut your beard means biblically with a razor. Now, first of all, the payas that grow on the side of the head, those you're not allowed to cut off completely. There's a certain amount that's supposed to go until the bone over here. That's the minimum length of payas. Now, some people have a minig that they have very long payas. You know, like everybody knows, the long behind the ear, up under the yarmulke, all the various different customs. That's basically minig more than actual din. It's known that they didn't know this until after the previous Rebbe passed away, but the previous Rebbe had long payas. But there was under his yarmulke, nobody actually ever saw them. But the Rebbe did not have long payas, that they know. The Rebbe didn't have long payas. But in Chabad, the custom is not necessarily to have the long payas, because that's custom, it's not necessarily. Then again, there's different customs about doing it. But you definitely wouldn't be allowed to shave the sideburns with a razor.
Even if it's the latest fashion?
Yeah. By the way, let me tell you a little secret. If it's the latest fashion, then you get 2 sins. Number one, you're following the ways of the Goyim, and you're shaving with a razor. Now it's interesting, the Rambam, when he talks about all these types of things, a lot of the illogical mitzvahs, the Rambam says about cutting the beard, with a razor. The Rambam says because idol worshippers used to do it. The Rambam learns all these things: tattoo, cutting with even the Rambam writes even shatneys, wool and linen together. The Rambam in Sefer Mitzvahs writes because that's the way the Goyish priests, the idol worshippers, would do it. They would wear those types of garments. So the Rambam, even though it's basically a chayk, there's no logic behind it, but the Rambam holds that it's connected to the idolatrous customs that people used to have. But one second, so you can't cut here with the razor. That would be forbidden. 1 second. The same thing is biblically forbidden to use a razor on your face. Because the Torah says, you should not cut the corners of your beard. Now halacha says there's 5 corners of the beard. There's here, here, and here. Those are the 5 corners of the beard. Here. Here. At the chin.
Tip of the chin?
Yeah, tip of the chin. No, tip of the chin. Technically, halachically, you'd be allowed to cut a mustache with a razor. You'd be allowed to cut a mustache because it's not one of the 5 places that the Torah forbids. So, cutting with using a razor on the face for sure is forbidden. That's biblical, clear, Pasuk and Chumash. Now, what happens if somebody wants to use an electric shaver? So there's a lot of discussion in contemporary halacha. Now, as Chabadniks, we are very strict because the Tzemach Tzedek has a tshuva, a long response of the Tzemach Tzedek talking about that, and he says that even though you don't cut it with a razor, you cut it, let's say, very thin, cut it basically, but not with a razor. He holds it might be a different issue of leisil besh gever sim l'sisha. That's what the Tzemach Tzedek holds. Tzemach Tzedek holds cutting a beard and shaving a beard, not only cutting, trimming. I'm talking about cutting it. Would be a shaila of a man wearing a woman's garments because that's what women did to remove facial hair. For instance, an interesting halacha. There's some people have had leniencies for it today, but for instance, for a man to dye their hair, according to most opinions, is biblically forbidden. In fact, that's the example the Gemara uses and Shulchan Aruch uses of a man not wearing women's clothing. So basically they would say, for instance, dyeing the hair, because women dye their hair, they should look younger. So if a man dyes the hair, so then it's wearing women's garments. Some contemporary poskim want to write that because in today's world the men also do it, so it's not unique for the women, so therefore some poskim permit it, other people don't permit it, but that's the issue. For instance, I'll give you an example, because a lot of these dinim are based on custom. For instance, if you look in Shulchan Aruch, in the dinim of a man not getting dressed like a woman not dressing like a man, it says over there, a man is not allowed to look in a mirror. It says in Shulchan Aruch, clear din, Shulchan Aruch, a man is not allowed to look in a mirror. Why? Because it gets scared? No, it depends. It depends which man.
My case, you fall in love with it.
Or he'll crack the mirror. One of the two. Either he'll fall in love with himself or crack the mirror. So it says why? Because in the olden times, women looked in the mirrors. Men didn't look in a mirror. So if a man looked in a mirror, he's doing women's things. But the later poskim, right? Today, men look in a mirror. I mean, as much as women, if maybe more, I don't know, whatever. So then, again, because it's the style for men, also to look at, so it's not the din of a man not wearing a woman's garment. So some poskim want to be lenient with dyeing the hair also, not everybody agrees with it, but these are all other, side dinim that involved in all those types of things.
Huh? Agree with dyeing the hair versus the
The pearl, no. Mirror, everybody paskins you're allowed to. Today, dyeing the hair, not everybody agrees with. Because not all men dye hair. All men look in the mirror. If you have the tie, you have to look at your tefillin. I mean, you look in the mirror. Not all men dye their hair.
Most men don't.
Most men don't. So then the shaila is it still a woman's thing or not?
Without laser removal hair.
Laser hair removal again might be a din of lisul b'shgavet because women do it. I'm talking. It depends where on the face, like.
Not there, is it the face?
No, it could be. It's biblically forbidden.
Yeah, he's not actually shaving out.
No, it's not because of shaving. Because lisul b'shgavet. No, not because of shaving. Shaving, it's not. I'll give you another example. The people that lived in Europe, like in Slobodka, there was another way of removing hair with acid on the face. They used to do that in Europe, in Poland, Hungary. That's the way the men would remove hair from the face. They didn't shave with a razor. That you're not allowed to. So, in fact, a big rabbi here that used to do a lot of the gittin, and years ago, he learned in Slobodka. He said Friday afternoon, the Bacham in Slobodka would line up and get the powder for the acid for the face to remove the hair. I don't know if it's true, but I heard that the Friedrich Rabbon said about that, you're not chayte, you're not sinning, but you're causing others to sin. Because they don't know that you use the acid, they might think you use the razor. What?
They remove the wood knives.
Yeah, but that would also be a din of a razor. So for instance, you have a big shyness today in certain electric razors. So a lot of people, not to some extent, but a lot of opinions are lenient using electric shave. I mean, that's the whole frum world that shaves, is relying on that heter. Now, they rely on the heter because the blade doesn't actually touch your skin. So it's not a razor. Actually, the razor is touching the skin and then taking it off. But they say there are certain shavers that actually touch the skin. Whatever, it actually touches the skin. Those are halachically obviously a much bigger problem than. But for instance, just pulling hair out of the beard, that's halachically. The Shabbos is a problem, but during the week, halachically, it's not a problem. Pulling hair out of a beard, you're not using a razor, you're not cutting it. Now, trimming is again different opinions if you're allowed to.
Eyebrows.
For a man to do it is forbidden because it's a woman's thing.
Shaving between the needle there or something?
It's not a shaila of shaving. For instance, if a man has hair on the ears or in the nose, they have these little. So those you're allowed to use. That's not one of the 5 places that you can't cut the hair.
It's not a problem.
The eyebrows, there should be a problem.
Eyebrows, again, the only question is, it's a woman's thing to do only, and then it's a question. Again, there's a few issues. There's cutting with a razor, there's women's clothing. A lot of it you have to know,
Can you shave with the
yeah, that you could do.
Whereas if
Something happened to the woman, they try to do something that men only do.
Very fast.
Because today the Shah in the army, there's a lot of women wants to be a pilot, they want to fight in the
Why isn't this working?
Do the same thing that men do.
positive actions which help and benefit
Low battery.
the world.
Anyway,
like wearing pants.
the issue with wearing pants is a different issue. Originally, for a woman to wear pants would be a man's garment. Okay? Today, though, they make women's pants and men's pants. They're different. It's not the men's garment anymore. It's women's garment. The only question is, halachically, if you see the shape of the foot, that's also forbidden. There's a lot of issues, not for now, but there's a lot of issues with all these types of things. Certain, what do you call them, kulats, that are very wide. Kulats, they're called. Very, very wide pants. That halachically, I'm not saying it's not a problem. That halachically is much better than pants because you can't see the form of the foot. When you look at it, it looks like you're wearing a dress until you see the split of the feet. But, that's, again, the same issue. But generally speaking, now, cutting a mustache halachically is allowed, especially if it gets in the way of food. In Kabbalah, it's brought down that a lot of people don't shave the mustache. We know the Rebbe didn't shave the mustache. A lot of Chassidus didn't shave the mustache. But again, halachically, you could cut a mustache, especially if it's getting in the way of eating, then you're allowed to shave a mustache. Yeah. Shaving it? If somebody wants to bald their hair, the only problem is, usually when they bald their hair, they do all over. Now, this area, you're not allowed to bald, because you need to have base, right? But if you leave this part, okay, a little bit here, and this, and you shave the rest of the head, even with the machine, like the machine itself, not the number, halachically it's not a problem. In fact, not Chabad, but a lot of Hasidic circles, they shave their hair. In fact, in Satmar and those types of Chassidim, when a girl gets married, right after the chuppah, in the yichud room that the chas and kala go into alone afterwards, they have a razor and they shave the hair completely, and then they wear tichel, whatever, shaitel, or whatever they do. But a lot of places,
The man or the woman?
the woman, now she's married. What? No, with a machine. What? A man's body hair you're allowed to remove. It's not. It's not a silbish gever because, again, women don't have hair there, so it's not, usually it's not, he's not doing it to look like a woman. And the body here, let's say, that shouldn't be a problem. Huh? What? Armpits also. In Shulchan it says you shouldn't do the armpits, because that's what women do. But again, the shaila and all these things of Leisul Bash Gever is a question, and you need big poskim to say this, and not all things that they discuss. If the men's style is to do it now as much as women, the question is the din of Leisul Bash Gever still apply? A lot of places they do. Huh?
They shave their hair in front of
Yeah. Machachin zoy meiser mach mit mein kim shvla gal teda, khanan mekashim mit gat